Hey everyone, we're going to be testing this CPU here today, which is the Xeon 5110, released back in 2006. There are a couple of mods you have to do to it first. One to the CPU, being a sticker on the motherboard, and a sticker on the back of the CPU there, which swaps a couple of the pins around and allows it to be used in socket 775 motherboards, like we're going to be doing today. And you also have to do a little mod to the motherboard itself for it to actually fit in the socket. But yeah, I'll also put the rest of the system we're going to be using for the benchmarks today down in the description below as well. Before that, the Xeon 5110 released on June 26, 2006 for server and workstation based motherboards using the 771 socket, costing $206 at the time, or just over $277 today. It was based on the Woodcrest architecture, which was the name given to the server variant of Intel's Conroe processor architecture that the first Core 2 Duo processors used. In fact, the Xeon 5110 is effectively identical to the Core 2 Duo E6320, with the exception of its running at a lower speed of 1.6 GHz, compared to the 6320's 1.87. It shares the same specs as some of the other Conroe-based E6000 series processors. The E6320, 6420, 6600 and 6700. So 2 cores, 4 MB of L2 cache, 291 million transistors, built on the 65nm fabrication process, 266 MHz front-side bus speed, which is the thing that the CPU and RAM etc. derive their speed from, and the same DDR, DDR2 and DDR3 RAM support as well. The 5110 turned out to be an overclocking monster. Your mileage may vary, but my particular example managed a maximum stable speed of 3.1 GHz. I managed this by changing the front side bus speed from 266 MHz up to 518, with a slight bump in voltage to 1.35 volts in the BIOS, which has it sitting at 1.296 volts in reality. The only reason I couldn't manage a higher clock speed wasn't the CPU, but actually the motherboard itself being unstable at this high a frontside bus speed. Also, as the RAM derives its speed from the frontside bus as well, it was now running at 1036 MHz, up from the standard 800 MHz. I've also now disabled any power saving options in the BIOS as well. Cinebench R23 is first up. This benchmark uses all available cores in a processor to render a photorealistic image, converting the time it takes to do so to a score at the end. While not a particularly representative benchmark, as not many people actually use it for rendering, it is still a good benchmark for comparing relative performance, and it's one I like running anyway. And with that, the Xeon 5110 manages only 379 points at stock. You can compare the score to the built-in ones for far more modern processors on the left-hand side. And as will be a theme today, performance improves dramatically with the overclock, jumping up to 805 points, which is only 2.9% down on what the Celeron G1610T I tested a few videos back managed at stock. Skyrim is first up for the games today. We're using the lowest possible settings in its 1080p, including the lowest detail and distance settings too, which has the side effect of causing some objects such as rocks, signposts, and coffins that are hiding enemies etc. to not render until you're up close. That aside, the game performed remarkably well considering the CPU it was running on. There is some slight but noticeable micro stutter running through the woods toward and going into Riverwood, which is more noticeable when turning the camera around. There are also noticeable hitches at points throughout the game too. Elsewhere, the game runs relatively smooth, minus some moments of slight stutter in Bleak Falls Temple, and the mentioned stuttering around Riverwood when going back there after finding the Golden Claw as well. These problems improve dramatically with the overclock, which eliminates almost all of the stuttering bar a few moments. Overall, I was quite surprised how well the game performed even at stock, considering how slow the Xeon 5110 is. This surprisingly good performance continues into Grip Combat Racing, which when running at the lowest settings at 1080p, also runs really well considering what it is running on. Firstly, there is some lag on the menu at the start, and the game does take a few seconds to load in all of the textures at the start of a race, but these don't affect gameplay at all. There is also micro stutter throughout at stop clocks, including some slight hitches too, which both become a bit more noticeable as you progress further into the career. And you might also want to avoid the first race of the second career tournament as well, as the stuttering is quite noticeable and causes the game to slow down a little in that race too. None of the problems break the gameplay or make the game unplayable, and even that first race in the second career tournament is still doable and enjoyable. Performance again dramatically improves with the overclock. The issues with textures remain, but otherwise only some slight micro stuttering remains, with the odd noticeable but slight hitch as well. Stuttering is still a little more noticeable as you progress through the career, but overall performance quite noticeably improves. Rocket League at 1080p with the lowest settings also surprises as well. While having noticeable stutter throughout, even in the least intensive arenas such as DFH Stadium and Champions Field, the game is still playable. Replays are quite stuttery, and there are occasions where stuttering and hitching are momentarily worse. However, overall, the game is playable, and like the previous games, the fact that the game runs to this standard at all is amazing. This unfortunately doesn't improve at all with the overclock. In fact, the overclock dramatically worsens performance. Average FPS is now well over 100, but despite the overclock allowing for this massive increase in average frame rates, the rest of the processor just can't keep up, resulting in really bad stop-start stuttering throughout, so you'd be better off not overclocking at all for Rocket League. CSGO is one of only 2 games that wasn't really playable at stock. This again is at 1080p using the lowest settings, with Uber shaders left on auto, which defaults to enabled. The menu was laggy in parts at the start, although this doesn't make it unusable. The game overall is pretty stuttery throughout, which got worse when close to your teammates or enemies. What made gameplay quite difficult at times was how bad the stuttering was in close combat. It made it quite hard to actually aim at the enemies. I'm testing this in a bot match, so it would actually be even harder for those of you that want to go online. Things do improve massively with the overclock as the previous games have. There is still slight lag on the menu, however, in-game action sees a huge improvement. The stuttering, while still there to an extent, isn't really noticeable, and is mostly only noticeable when turning the camera. Combat also sees a massive improvement too, as there is now no issue here at all. So overall, CSGO is now quite playable with the overclock. GTA 5 is where things get really bad. Immediately you notice major texture and object popping throughout the city, which is an issue throughout the rest of the map as well, but is slightly better in points, but not to the extent that it's any less game breaking. This leads you to having to drive through the map by using the minimap and your memory from previous tests, as in my case. That's on top of some pretty severe hitches throughout, which often last upwards of half a second, with some as bad as over 2 seconds at times as well. Overall, GTA 5 is completely unplayable on the 5110, even with the overclock, as despite the issues improving massively, they are still pretty major. First time players of the game will find it impossible to play, although if you're reasonably familiar with the game and the map already, you would at least still be able to play the game, to be fair. Lastly, it's the Adventure Pals, an indie game I like including to raise more awareness of it, and it is quite a fun and wholesome game to play as well, with lots of replayability too. It can run on pretty much anything, as the Xeon 5110 is showing here. Bar some visible stuttering at points, the game runs perfectly. The overclock also does a lot to reduce the stuttering too, although at stock, while noticeable, it's not exactly bad, although the overclock does improve it quite a bit. So to finish off, as well as showing you what a now 15-year-old Xeon can do today, one thing that I hope I've managed to get across is that you can still have fun despite not having completely smooth or perfect performance. Pretty much every game I tested today, bar GTA 5, was quite playable and enjoyable despite the issues. Games are made to be fun, and that's all that matters, is that you can still have fun. So I'd like to thank Patreon supporters Shadow in the Void, Matt the Sterak, and Jimmy the Bantam for helping to make all of this possible. If you would also like to support me through Patreon, you can do so through patreon.com/benchytest, where you can gain ad-free early access to all of my videos for as long as you remain a patron. You can also support me through Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/benchytest. I'd also like to take this chance to remind people that I now stream on Twitch as well, at twitch.tv/benchytest. I do this every Thursday and Sunday at 7 PM UK time. So hopefully you've enjoyed my video on the Xeon 5110 today. So yeah, see you next time.